Got train to New York. Got train to New York. Got train to New York.
When Walt Whitman began his candidacy for president, conservative theoreticians interfered and rejected him because he was gay. This happened in the 19th century. Later, Williams was a candidate for Frost, Bedford, and Randolph, as well as Stephen somehow. Meanwhile, Pound had dropped out of politics, not Bolton, and no one knew exactly where Alden stood, though he liked to write tercets and made good rhymes.
This would bring about global living without war. Said, yes, of course, that's right, but how is it going to happen?
Life is possible to maintain as long as time, which wants us to remain for cocktails in a bar and after dinner lets us
When the second thaw came and freedom became the most sought-after commodity, politics was heavily influenced by Eastern philosophies, and painting in the writings of, for example, Snyder and from the New York School, we should at least mention O'Hara and Ashbery, while the tea, coffee, Ginsberg, Ferlinghetti, and others, for example, Chinese takeout menus stayed outside the mainstream and found their place. A subway map on the wall like the anatomy of the city. Phone calls and addresses for Emil, who doesn't play guitar. Others, for example, confessional window for a stayed outside the mainstream and found their place in the margins, writing about nature.
U.S. citizens are 6% of world's population, consuming 60% of world's resources. Had Americans been born?
Gužva na cestah Uptowna, lepotičniki na črti, neba Manhattna, zakrivate mi sonce.
In jo bolem še ploviš noča, juha je juha, dobra, ampak vroča, piha še piha, tu še nekako gle, sleka, se pačkam.
Attempting to give literature back to the real candidate for positions of power both in society and in the field of
Rather than men, it would not have been different. Finding one of them acceptable, people say, "You're not like an American." She said people she talked to about the global services and the notion services that bring about global living.
And therefore we cannot deal with it at any great length here. See you next time.
Večnost je komemoracija. Ribe so poribane.
Buy a dictionary and cross out the words to be crossed out. Sign. Revise and correct.
Nebo je krik razsuti drobci. Samo za spoznanje stekleniča. Zvezde so mreže in mi ukročeni. Bogovi so sence na steni. Muha, kratka, 4-delna rjuha, ki jo berem brez besed in 7-letna pobozujoče mrka, sede na polico kot požrta črka. Danes grem spet v mesto.
I waited for quite a while, but nobody showed up. There was just this big hole in the closet door. I looked through it and saw an abyss on the other side. I stepped through and started falling. I fell calmly through the air and wrote a poem in my head. I didn't have any paper or pens, but it didn't matter. I didn't care where I landed.
Vstopil sem v belo hišo.